Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Thank you. Item 9.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the city repealing ordinance number 36-16, authorizing the issuance of its sales tax revenue bonds and other actions related thereto.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Erickson.
Thank you. This proposal is being brought forward for a repeal simply to stop the clock. We'll be able to continue the conversation and continue to have the prudent conversations to find workable solutions while maintaining the high level of service we currently have within our city government. Again, this simply stops the clock, not the conversation. The calls I receive on a daily basis and weekly basis when I'm in the grocery store or emails, text messages, oftentimes have nothing to do with the growth of city government, but simply have keep me safe, help me meet ends meet, what services do I have, and fix my roads are the top items that I'm often contacted about. I made it very clear after the first vote in April, with a new council coming on board, that a vote of this magnitude needed to have the voice of the new councilors as well. This will impact the budgets to come, and I wanted to ensure that this council also has a voice in this decision. I've been asked the timeline and why now. I did not choose the October 1st timeframe to sell the bonds, but that was the date that was chosen, and that did go forward. At that time, looking backwards, looking at the charter, which dictates the timeline, this is the time now to have that conversation. There is not time as we see all the different options that could play out after this vote. So I ask you, councilors, to please support this, continue the conversation, and not just say no today, but to continue the conversation. I ask for your support on this, and I would ask to move approval.
Second, Nitzert.
I'm so sorry. There's been a motion to approve item 9 by Councilor Erickson, second by Councilor Nitzert. Councilor Urbanbach.
Questions, and just sort of rhetorical, but then a direction for staff as well. I want to know if the new council members have heard the entire report and justification for the new building proposal. Have you read the space needs studies, and have you toured all of the existing office spaces? I'd encourage you to do that before the second reading on this. And then if I could ask staff to find at least the video minutes of the reports for the new counselors to watch. So you don't have to read the reports page by page, but at least see the same reports that the sitting council members have seen, and at least spend a fraction of the time that we have spent with this project. You know, it has been something that's been coming for a long time, and it is something that is needed. I would encourage a no vote on reconsideration. I believe we're ready to roll with this. I believe it's the right project at the right time. But I do, if you're going to vote on this, I encourage you to at least have the background on it. Please do your homework.
Councilor Chair Rolfing.
Yes, I would like to invite, if I could, SIOUX and Quambeck forward to give us a brief presentation on why this building is needed, what brought it about, and why the decision to go forward with the new building was made. If that would be appropriate at this time, I think it would be a good education and information for especially the newer counselors.
Sue.
Hello again. Thank you for taking the time. This is Sue Quambeck, Director of Central Services, here just to give you a brief recap of this City Administration Office building project. The long and short of it is we are out of space. We're out of space. We've been out of space for a while. We have teams that are split up. We're leasing space. We've been leasing space for quite a while, and we have no room for growth. So that's the problem we're trying to fix here. We have been doing due diligence for going on 10 years. Back when Mayor Munson was in office, they did a formal space needs assessment then in 2007. We have since did our own formal space needs assessment in 2012. We researched alternatives, and I'll cover that a little bit more in the next slide, but from 2012 through 2015. We have maximized City Hall space with renovations over the last couple of years. We presented our recommendation to the full council in April of 2015. And then we worked through the summer to do 2 formal RFPs to find the right firm architecturally and construction manager at risk. From that, we were able to put together the building design to fit our needs and a project budget, which we presented in February of 2016. We've been working with the city council hand in hand all along the way. Just to briefly recap solutions that we have considered along the way, one of which was to maximize the current city hall, which we have done. We've renovated ground floor, we renovated second floor, and we have maximized every square inch to the extent that we can in the city hall that we have. It's an 80-year-old building. We've done a lot of rehab to it, and we love it. City hall is great. We have no plans to abandon it. We've looked at buying an existing building, many different options. And as I talked about in the 4 o'clock meeting today, we vetted through some of the existing buildings, like the DM&E, for example, which might have been a great choice. The CSD campus buildings, the Joe Foss School, 114 South Main. There were several that we considered, but in all instances, there were fundamental issues with the size of the building, the location, parking, or all of the above. We considered many lease options, CenturyLink building, Wells Fargo, many others, but we determined leasing is only a stopgap measure. It is not a prudent means of solving our space needs long term. We looked at perhaps entering into a long-term lease agreement with an option to buy down the road. We considered 8th and Minnesota as a location, for example. We looked at 115 North Dakota Avenue, which is a building that was recently built just to the west of City Hall. But we determined ultimately we would be better off building it ourselves to our specifications. So after vetting options for 3 years, we arrived at our conclusion. The best solution is to build a new building. And we presented this to the full council in April of 2015. As part of the plan, as I said, we finalized improvements to City Hall to make the best use of the space there. Part of the plan would be to vacate and repurpose some city-owned buildings and discontinuing leasing. As we all know, long-term leasing doesn't make sense. We've been leasing since 2013, and if we don't build a new building, we're going to continue to lease, and we're going to need to lease even more than we're leasing today. Our plan, our building plan, is the right size for now and the right size for the future. It will meet our needs for 50 years plus. And we want to build it right the first time. We have a nice track record of building with quality materials, materials that will last. We don't want to have to come back in 10, 15 years to replace a roof or an HVAC system. We don't want to build it on the cheap. We want to do it right the first time. It's also important, we think, to have a good quality work environment. It's a very tight labor market, as we all know. Low unemployment. It's important to have decent workspace to attract and retain good quality workforce. And the costs are only going to go up. We all know that. And in terms of the presentation this afternoon, assessing the existing building, the 300 building, it really cannot be an apples to apples comparison. Trying to fit our building needs into an existing building is not the same as building a new building to fit our needs. It's just not. We've been working hand in hand with the City Council for 2 years to address this need, answering questions along the way. The council voted to purchase the bonds this fall, and we would ask this council to support that decision. Thank you.
Council Chair, was that adequate?
Very nice, thank you.
Okay.
I would
thank
only,
you.
I would
Council Chair.
not add, but I would like to put my 2 cents in worth and just reiterate that we have been studying this since 2012. It's not that we haven't done our homework. We've done our homework all the way around. Other options have been vetted. We've been doing that for about a year and a half or 2 years on different things. Now, whether you choose to believe that information or not is up to you. But I can assure you that the people that are doing the vetting, number one, and the people that are giving us numbers, you can think that they would skew everything to the side of a new building because that would be to their best interest. However, we've got organizations like Tegra who have national reputations that that would not happen with. You just don't, for this small of a project, you don't give up your reputation. They're doing it the right way, folks. We watched the progress, and now is the time to move, get this thing done, and get it built. So let's move forward.
Councilor Kiley.
I have spoken in favor of this project for a number of months now, years actually, since I've been serving on the advisory team as well too. And I do respect the opinion of all of my colleagues. However, I do believe that we have discussed this very thoroughly in the past and in the past few weeks as well, or past few months since our last election. And I do firmly believe that now is the time to act. It's just going to build what we need to serve the citizens of Sioux Falls is just going to continue to escalate in cost. The factoring in the cost of $18 million just for the building alone. And that doesn't factor in the fact that we do already own the property. If we had to purchase property on top of that, it could escalate. But if we delay that just 1 year with a 3% inflation rate, that it's up over $500,000 a year that it costs, and we do run the risk. Right now, we're locked in to our prices, with the companies, with our architect, and with our construction company. We'll lose that locked-in price if we don't go with this now, and it will cost us more. There's a guarantee it's going to cost you more because, I mean, you're going to have at least a half a year. Even if we were to build it immediately after that time, we're going to have a half a year of inflation costs on top of that. And that continues. If we delay it 5 years, it's now escalated almost $3 million on an $18 million price tag, just in a 3-year delay. And I'm sitting here thinking, just think if previous councils and administrations had acted before now, we wouldn't be having this discussion. They've saddled us with this issue, and if we don't pass this now, we will saddle future councils with this issue and future debt. I know that we're all debt-minded. I am too. It's how I lead my life. I try to be as debt-free as I possibly can, and I wish the same for the city too. But if we don't do this now, it's just going to cost us in the long run. And at the rate that the city of Sioux Falls is growing, 3,000 people a year, the equivalent of adding Aberdeen, South Dakota, and Watertown, South Dakota, just since the year 2000, so in the last 15 years, nearly 50,000 individuals added to the city of Sioux Falls. To think that our needs to serve the citizens isn't going to increase, and they need to, yes, even have more personnel. Despite technology, you still need to have individuals that are going to operate and implement the technology. It's inevitable that we're going to need this. And to put it off any longer than we have is just going to cost us more money in the long run. So, again, as Councilor Erpenbach had stated, I would suggest my colleagues to vote no on this issue this evening.
Sorry, Councilor Neisert.
Thank you. There has never been a consensus on this project. It's been contentious from the beginning. There's been 2 tie-breaking votes, the construction manager at risk and 1 for the bonding. This was never a done deal that everybody was for. This decision is going to affect our operational capital budgets for decades to come. It's too big not to have the debate. Let's talk about the cost going up. The cost of everything is going up. Let's say that we do this administration building. We have to pay the bonding. Things are going to get delayed. Construction projects, road projects, they're going to inflate as well. There's an opportunity cost. It's a zero-sum game. There's all this talk about retention. I have yet to see any statistic showing that the city has a retention problem. The opposite is true. The city usually has 50 to 100 applicants for jobs. Nobody is leaving the city employment because of air quality or ceiling height. It's just not happening. There's been a lot of talk about vetting and due diligence. Those words keep coming up over and over. As I've watched this over the years, I haven't seen it. The past councils, many of those councilors didn't see it, and that's why they objected to it. As far as the space needs study, I've read it many times. I've toured all the buildings, and I've watched all the videos. And I will do you one better. You can go to the Greg Neitzert YouTube page. There's a category called Admin Building. I've put up every video having anything to do with the administration building and anything related to it. I've watched all the videos. I encourage all of you to go watch the videos. You'll get the whole history, all the way back to 2012 or 2013. It's very, very helpful. So I'm going to encourage you to put this to a second reading, and let's have the debate. The decision is just too big. Thank you.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
No.
Kiley.
No.
Neitzert.
Yes.
Rolfing.
No.
That is passed 5-3. Item 10.